Hello, this is Dr. McC from Sound Learning, and this video is about the Year 1 phonics screen in the UK. What I hope that you'll do by the end is to have learned a bit about phonics, to find out how the test works in the UK, and to try some examples, and maybe to find out how you can best help your child through this Year 1 phonics screen. The examples are taken from the Standards and Testing Agency website, and everything is from there. So, these are the questions I want to answer. What are phonics? How do we teach phonics in schools in the UK? Why is there a check? Who takes the phonics check and when does it happen? And what form does it take? And what are the consequences? What happens because of this test? And how can you best help your child? That's what I want to do step by step while you're watching this. Okay, here goes. What is phonics? Phonics consists of phonemes and graphemes. What are they? Well, phonics teaches children to read by linking what they see on paper, the letters and letter combinations, to the sounds that they hear. That seems quite simple, doesn't it? The phonemes are the sounds they hear, and the graphemes are the sounds that they see on paper. So it consists of two things, segmenting and blending. When you read, you have to break the written symbols up into bits of sound. Then you have to put all these bits together to make a word. And so the phonics teaching teaches children how these bits of sound look. So segmenting is breaking the words up into sound chunks, and blending is putting these all back together again to make words. Okay, how are phonics taught? Well, there's a problem with English because we have 26 letters and there are 44 unique sounds or phonemes, and there are around 240 different ways of putting these down on paper. So if you think about it, we've got about 6 different ways of writing each sound. And that makes it complicated for learners. In the UK, they use synthetic phonics. There has been a lot of discussion about the best way to teach reading, and the government was convinced a while back by studies on synthetic phonics that this was the best approach. So what happens is we start to teach little bits of sound, and these little bits get more and more complicated as the child progresses through the phonics system, the different phases. So in this form of phonics, all the children are taught letter-sound relationships in a sequence, and the idea is to get them read fluently by a target age of 6. So by 6, the government want the children to be reading fluently. The trouble has been in the UK, some sources say that the average reading age is around 9 years. So the average UK person has a reading ability of that expected of a child 9 years old. So reading by 6 came on. The government were convinced by synthetic phonics and set a target of reading by 6 for UK schools. And they came up with a scheme called Letters and Sounds, which organises the way phonics are taught. And this is mostly how phonics teaching is done in the UK. And the phonics screen is a check on how well the system's doing. So who takes the checks and when? Well, who? All pupils in Year 1, except those who have no understanding of the grapheme phoneme correspondence. When do they take it? In June of Year 1, and then again in June of Year 2 for children who don't pass the threshold in Year 1. What's the threshold? Well, the test consists of 40 words and pseudo words, 20 real words and 20 made-up words, and the threshold has been set at 32 for the past few years. So what form does it take? There is the main test, but before that there's a practice test. The main test has 40 made-up words and 40 words. 20 are made up and 20 are real. Before the test is a set of 8 practice words that are quite simple, and hopefully that put the child at ease. So there are 10 pages of full words on each page which the child has to read. This is after the practice. And the teacher is given guidance on how each word should be read, and it does make allowance for regional accents. The answer is either correct or incorrect. And as I say, the pass threshold has been 32 out of 40 in the past few years. So what are the consequences of the check? The scoring is completely, seems to some people arbitrary, to say that 32 is a pass and below 32 isn't. But each pupil who doesn't reach a level of 32 has to take the check again in year 2. And for the past few years, the pass rate was 82%. So I guess if the child doesn't pass, in year 1, they get more phonics into year 2. So how can you help? Well, I'm going to show you now a sample of real and pseudo words from the 2019 phonics check. And I give you an impression of the test. These are samples that use the same font as the government test does. It's important that the font is the same, because a slightly different font can upset the reader and make it really difficult. They tested these things in Australia and found that the Australian children didn't do as well. They weren't used to the font that the government uses. So these examples I'm going to show you all use the same font that the government does. And then in a while I'll be publishing more videos containing all of the words used in the screening test, with acceptable pronunciation of each one that perhaps your child can use as practice for the test. So you could use them as practice throughout the year, especially when we are locked down, or you could use it to check on your child's progress throughout the year, which isn't a bad thing either. So in a minute you'll see a word. I'll give you a chance to read it and then show you the phonics elements of it. So this is chum. This is a real word from the test. And this is merbs, which is a pseudo word or made up word. And each made up word has an alien beside it. And that's because a good reader will see a word like that and try and make it into a real word. They try and link it to the nearest real word that they know. And that alien's there to say, please don't try and change this into a real word. It doesn't exist, it doesn't make sense. So, this is the first word in the 2019 test. How would you do that? Well, there's the alien, so it's not a made-up word. It consists of 3 sounds. The S is from the word sit, and then t. So we've got s-ut, and it rhymes with cut. And some accents pronounce U differently, so they'll accept variations on the answer cut. Alright, here's the next one. The next one is chort. So have a look at this. Another alien word you might have guessed. And it has 4 sounds. The ch, which comes from chain, and then ort, making chort, which rhymes with snort. And again, some regional accents pronounce the O differently, so there's leeway in the answers. And the last one I've got for you is quisk, another alien word. So it has the sounds qu, which comes from quilt, and then isk, so it rhymes with whisk. I'll be posting videos of complete sets of words that you can either use to help your child or just to ensure to have a really good idea of how the test works. So that's all I've got to say. If you like the video, then please subscribe and hit like. Thanks very much for listening and watching, and good luck. Bye bye.